In this lecture, I'm going to demonstrate how to mark seams and use those seams to unwrap a cube. We'll be able to use what we learned from this lecture throughout the rest of the course to unwrap most objects. You'll find that watching me, I tend to lean towards this technique more than others, but I don't want that to persuade you to do the same. This is a very useful tool, and it is definitely one of the preferred methods for most professionals, but again, there are sometimes other tools that are more efficient than this. So you have to kind of figure that out on your own. I highly recommend getting good with this technique, as you're going to be able to unwrap just about any object using seams and the unwrap tool. We're going to be working with a cube because a cube is a very basic shape. Also, we've already unwrapped a few cubes here in this course so far, so I think it'll help you by comparing these methods. So let's go to edit mode and take a closer look at what's going on here. Look back at what we've done so far. One thing that all of our unwrapped cubes have had in common is they've all taken on this sort of T formation. We want to rebuild that T formation by marking each edge as a seam as we go. So we're going to be using the edge selection tool here, and we want to find the front face for starters. So this is the front, and we got to think about what's happening here. So the front of this face folds out to the top, so that this is going to be a fold, not a seam. It's going to be a fold. That means that these two edges are probably going to be seams, and this is probably going to be a seam back there because this is going to fold open like that, and that's going to be cut off from the back. So that kind of makes sense so far. It's also going to fold off to the left so that we can see the left side is going to be cut down here and maybe cut back there, but we'll decide that in just a minute. We have to decide whether the left or the right is going to be cut. Maybe the bottom is going to be left open. I don't know yet. So this is going to be cut, and likewise that's going to be cut because this is going to fold and that's going to fold out. So this is going to be laying out flat like that. So I'm just going to make a decision here and choose not to mark this as a seam, but to go ahead and mark this instead, because it's got to fold somewhere out to the back, and I think I'm just going to allow it to fold here out onto the back. So again, here's our front. Here's a fold. We've cut seams around the top. Okay, so it folds over to the right. We've cut seams around the right, and it folds over to the bottom. So we need to cut seams all the way around the bottom. And it folds over to the left, and this is the part where we actually allow it to fold from the left all the way to the back. So you can see that there's that seam. So those are basically all the edges that we need to select. And to mark seams, all we really need to do is Control E. And what that's doing is actually bringing up the Edges menu. You can get to the Edges menu another way. Let me show you. You can go to Mesh and find Edges right here. And that's basically that menu we were just looking at. You'll notice that it says Control E. That's the shortcut for edges. You'll see that there's also a shortcut for faces and vertices. Right now we're focusing on marking seams. So that's what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You'll notice that the color changed from that orange to like a reddish orange. That indicates that those are seams. If I actually unselect this, they'll remain a dark red color. So those are currently all the seams. And what a seam is, again, is an area that's actually going to be cut open in the UV space. So this is going to be cut apart, allowing this face to kind of fold open. I'm going to select all and hit the letter U on my keyboard, bring up the UV mapping menu, and just choose Unwrap. And you can see it creates a nice T formation. Now, I find that the follow active quads is much easier, but it's really not that different. It pretty much produces exactly the same shape. I can open up the tool shelf if I want and put a margin here, just like I could with the other tools that we've used. But that's basically it. Let's go ahead and put a graphic on here so that we can see this. So I'm going to go ahead and create a UV grid. And we'll take a look at this with a texture on and viewport shading. So that's basically how the Mark Seams tool works, along with the Unwrap tool. And you'll find that as you watch the rest of this course, almost everything that I do involves marking seams and unwrapping. Once in a while, I do go back to some of these other automatic tools, But for the most part, I personally favor this method, and I think a lot of people in this industry actually do. Although I don't want to dismiss the other tools, because I think it's very important that you understand sometimes you can get things done a lot easier using the appropriate methods. So that's all I really want to say in this lecture. There's plenty of opportunities to learn more about this as the course rolls on, and I think I just kind of wanted to open up this door right now. I want you to go in there and try practicing what you just saw. Make sure that you have a good understanding of unwrapping a cube by marking seams, because it's going to come in handy throughout the rest of the course and, quite frankly, throughout the rest of your career. So good luck. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the discussions, and I'll meet you in the next lecture.